What do I do if the house that I inherited is in foreclosure? Hey guys, it's Brad Woodall with GeorgiaProbateResource.com and ArborViewHomebuyers.com. We're a real estate solutions company. We specifically focus in the probate and inheritance property niche. So that's a great question. So if your house that you've inherited is in default or in foreclosure, what do you do? I actually just got a phone call from a real estate agent that I know, and this real estate agent had a client that was in the middle of the probate process, and the house was sold at a foreclosure auction, and they were asking me, you know, can they do that? And again, I'm going to preface this with I'm not a real estate attorney. You should always consult a real estate attorney for legal advice. But in my experience, really once it's sold at the real estate auction, there's not much you can do because the lender has the legal authority to sell the property. That you give them a specific power of attorney when you sign all your loan documents. That if you go into default, they can basically do what's called a deed under power, which is essentially allows them to sell the property at auction, and then they sign off on it because you've given them specific authority to do that. So what do you do if the house that you inherited is in default or in foreclosure? First of all, as soon as you've inherited this house, you need to make sure that you make an attempt to reach out to the bank. And I know sometimes it's going to be difficult because maybe the bank won't talk to you, maybe they want certain paperwork. But you have to make a repeated attempt at reaching out to them. And sometimes what you can actually do is you can get a sort of a temporary administration in order to contact the bank to deal with the assets. Sometimes the bank will grant you temporary access to get into a safe deposit box. The courts will give you sort of temporary access to things until you get your letters testamentary or your letters of administration. So you need to make sure that you're reaching out to the bank ASAP to let them know what's going on. Sometimes the lender will actually sort of give you a little bit of leeway if they know that you're in the probate process, and they won't let the house go to auction. But you've got to notify them and you've got to let them know what's going on. Because if you don't, then they're just going to assume they're just going to consider, run business as usual. So make sure that you're talking to the bank. Make sure you're keeping them abreast of the process and how much longer it's going to be and that sort of thing, so that the house doesn't get sold out from under you in foreclosure. Also, there's a difference between sort of in foreclosure and in default. There's a time period where, let's say you've missed some payments, and at that point you're in default. And the bank is going to send you a notice of default and say, hey, you're in default on the payments, and we're going to start foreclosure proceedings if you don't bring this loan current. And they're going to give you an amount of money. It's called a reinstatement amount. It's basically the amount of past due interest and penalties and blah, 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 blah. And you have to make that payment to bring the loan current and reinstate the loan. Sometimes what you can do is actually make a partial payment and sort of, let's say you're 3 months behind and maybe you can only afford to make like 2 months worth of payments. You pay those 2 months and that sort of resets the clock back a little bit. So just do what you can and try to keep that loan from getting too far in default. I say fortunately right now, and I'm using this loosely, the banks have gotten so backed up with foreclosures over the last few years because the courts were shut down for COVID that they're trying to catch up on all the backlog of foreclosures right now. So you do have a little bit of time right now, but I don't want you to don't get cocky and don't think you've got time. You need to time is of the essence here, and you need to make sure that you're reaching out to the bank, letting them know you're in probate, letting them know you're going through that process, and let them know your intentions with the property and say, look, we plan on listing this house with a real estate agent, and we plan on selling this house. What you can also do is, this is sort of a gray area, but to get a jump start on the process, if you know that you are going to get, let's say, your letters of administration or your letters testamentary in the next, let's say, 60 days, right? You can reach out to a real estate agent, and some may do this, some may not. And you could go ahead and list this property for sale through the real estate agent. And again, some will do this and some won't. Some brokers will say, no, you need to have your letters of administration before we do this. Others will be like, okay, I see it coming. Let's go ahead and do that. To sort of get ahead of the game, go ahead and list the property under contract. Or we do this at Arborview Properties all the time, is that we will go under contract with the estate and have the soon-to-be administrator sign a contract with us. Now that contract is really, it's voidable in the eyes of the court, because until you get your letters of administration or your letters testamentary, you don't technically have the legal authority to sign that, but it's more of a good gesture, and basically you can go ahead and get the sale ready. And we do this all the time, where we will go ahead and negotiate with the family. We'll make them an offer. Everybody's on board with it. The administrator, or the soon-to-be administrator, will sign the contract, and we'll schedule a closing date. And we've done this countless times, where literally the administrator or the executor gets their letters like that day. We've even had them where they got them in the morning, and then that afternoon, as soon as they got letters, they went to the attorney's office and signed all the closing documents and sold the property. Because literally, as soon as you get those letters of administration or letters testamentary that specifically grant you the authority to sell the house and the asset, you're good to go. You can sell the house and you can sign on the closing documents that day. So sometimes we sort of get ahead of the game and go ahead and get the thing in process. But again, the closing attorney cannot close on that transaction until they have valid letters of administration or letters testamentary from the administrator or the executor. And as soon as they have that and they confirm that they're legitimate, they'll go ahead and allow you to close. So sometimes you can sort of get ahead of the game there. So don't try to wait till the last minute. Try to be on top of it. So that's my advice on that topic. I know I went a little long here. We're 7 minutes into this video, but I hope that helps, because we do encounter that a lot, where property will get sold out from underneath an estate. Actually, we had one a few months ago. Me and a business partner were buying a deal, and the probate and the family was a mess. And the property, there were 2 properties, and one of them ended up actually getting sold at auction while we were in the middle of the process. And it's gone now, unfortunately. The other one's still in play, but we're trying to get this probate done, but the family's been infighting and it's just been a mess. So anyways, I hope that helps, guys. Again, thanks. I'm Brad with GeorgiaProbateResource.com and ArborviewHomeBuyers.com. We're a real estate solutions company. If you have a house that you need to sell, please reach out to us. You can click on the link below, or you can go on your website. Maybe you're watching this video on our website. Fill out the web form, or call us, and a member of our team will be with you as soon as possible, and we'll ask you some questions, sort of figure out what's going on with your scenario, figure out what the best fit for you is, and hopefully we can take care of your real estate problems. And oh, by the way, if you're on GeorgiaProbateResource.com, feel free to read through all of our great resources. I've got tons of videos out here. We've got tons of articles about everything related to probate, and we hope that it's helpful to you and hope that it answers some questions. So thanks again, guys. Have a great day.